Welcome back to another episode of NFL News on the Boom Bust channel. I'm your host Terry, and today talking about Shedeur Sanders' preseason debut with the Cleveland Browns. So let's put the context out there first, and then we'll get into the review. Whether you want to acknowledge it or not, that's fine. So number one, we know that this is preseason. Shedeur faced some starters. He obviously faced some backups most of the time. All those different things. It's preseason football. It is what it is. Number two, Shedeur Sanders went in the 5th round, causing what was already a very polarizing topic to become more polarizing. So, and not just for Shedeur, this is true of a lot of things, especially rookies, but it is more true for Shedeur, is that everything's being hyped up. That's just the world we're in, and NFL is exactly there. They got us in a spot where they want us, which is we're overhyping everything. I guarantee you, most people can't tell you anything about last year's preseason. We know what this stuff means, but still, people live in the here and now microwave attention span, so we got to hype up everything that happens. And again, it's happening with a lot. I keep seeing clips and this, and oh, I told you so's on the first preseason game is, whatever. So that we got to keep that in check too. We got to be able to measure these things, which is why I want to do this. I'm not super interested, but it came across, so I was able to see and watch. After seeing everybody else's reaction, I'm like, okay, now I actually saw the film. I'm like, okay, all right. So there's that. This is the point. We want to put it all into real context and not just putting it into the scope of Team Shedeur and Dion versus everybody else, because that's all it really is at this point. People are looking for ammunition to fuel their side. So there's that. Number three, obviously, if you listen to this channel, and I've said before, I don't think Shedeur was a 5th round pick. I don't think he was a 1st round pick either. And I think Cam Ward was definitely not a top 10 pick in a normal draft. So it wasn't just Shedeur, but no, I was not somebody out here saying he should be number 1 pick. Not someone saying this was collusion and all. That wasn't me. To me, I try to be fair and balanced just based on my opinion of watching film. And if, people take it how they want to, that's what journalistic integrity used to be. Put your whole thing out there for people to see and let them make up their decisions. So if you feel like because I wasn't a cheerleading Shedeur that I can't be objective, then that's fine. You don't got to listen. All right. I think that's it. And then I guess we need to acknowledge what happened with the Browns training camp. Obviously, I'm not there. Most of us are not there. Not sure what's happening. We know that Gabriel and Pickett have not been practicing for a while. They brought in another quarterback. Obviously, they didn't play. Joe Flacco is number 1 right now. He's not playing. And so Shedeur got most of the game reps. And again, I hear different things, reports, but for the most part, it seems like he hasn't had a ton of first team reps, which honestly, I mean, right now, as far as the preseason goes, it's kind of, whatever. Honestly, for me, it's like he's learning a new system. So are you getting reps in that system? And practice could look 1,000 different ways. So I'm not going to speculate. We just can acknowledge he hasn't been getting as many reps as some people think he should have. So, okay, with all that being stated, let's go ahead and get into the actual preseason game. And I'll start with the positive. So for all the trolls and the fans, you can hear that, and then you can leave after that. And anybody that's real football fans that want to actually talk about reality, you could stick around for that too. So anyway, watching Shedeur, I think the biggest thing that stood out to me on a positive lens, that was actually very impressive, was his footwork and timing within this offense. Now, obviously, again, it's preseason, it's game 1, so there's not going to be like a full playbook, but it's no different honestly, than Caleb Williams, probably Jackson Dart, so many of these other guys. They're coming from college offenses that are so far beyond what a professional offense looks like, that there is that transition piece. Along with a lot of things, people praise Jaden Daniels because he spent that year at LSU where Brian Kelly has a very sophisticated NFL type passing game. And so they thought he would be ahead of the curve. So much like a lot of quarterbacks, Shedeur coming into a more pro system as opposed to what you saw in Colorado, it was very impressive to see him on timing. I mean, again, if you are a Chicago Bears fan, you've heard all summer about Caleb learning to play under center, like, and you know that's a thing, but it's just so different than what it used to be. Even if you didn't play under center in college back, 10 years ago, you still were able to know the basics and stuff. So now it's a crapshoot whether a quarterback can adjust. Shedeur looked flawless. He looked pretty much flawless from the play action handoffs, the rollouts, everything under center, the 3-step drops, everything looked really crisp and good. And again, I'm going off what quote unquote reports are. And I only say quote unquote because reports have been conflicting from people that have been at practice. So I don't know what he's doing and what time he's getting, but he used it well because his footwork was shockingly good for somebody that played in that more air out spread system that they have in college, especially a team that didn't run the ball a whole lot. So that's impressive. And also, I love it for his game. And throughout this, I'll be talking about comparing his evaluation to what I saw, which only makes sense. So one of the things with his game, which happens to a lot of quarterbacks, he held the ball too long. He played a lot like a Caleb Williams. And a lot of these quarterbacks are trying to play like Mahomes, where they're holding the ball, they're trying to make a play, they're trying to dance in the backfield, create something. And so I think he didn't make decisions as quickly as he needs to in the NFL. And with this, I think this system forced him to be on time. Even in a few plays where he moved the pocket or he had to move within the pocket to make a throw, he knew that he had to get the ball out on time. It never turned, I think maybe one time that I saw he tried to really turn it into a true scramble drill. I mean, you had the one shot down the field, the one-handed catch, but as far as like him just trying to play backyard football, I think that only happened one time. Everything else, he moved the pocket and he went through his progression to another route. And so when you get into more of those West Coast system, more ball control systems, it's all about timing, which again, why you have certain, people always like a Kirk Cousins or even a Joe Flacco or Aaron Rodgers, whoever. People always like, why do people want those quarterbacks? Like, if you can't run, you're useless in the league. And that's not true. First of all, a lot of these systems were built on timing, but some of those more traditional systems, those coaches want players who can play within timing. And so I think this forces you, if you're going to be good at it, to not only speed up your decision making, it kind of reduces it. I mean, you look at the rollouts, again, the play actions, a lot of times it ain't 4 routes out there, definitely ain't 5 routes out there. You got a few select, you know where your eye is supposed to go, and okay, on timing, if that's not there, I got to go here. And it's not easy to do. It might be simpler, but it's not easy for everybody. But Shedeur showed excellent ability to have picked that up throughout training camp, and I like the fit of that system for his game and what he's really good at. So that was great. Again, I talked about the movement in the pocket. I'll talk about the movement in the pocket, but his pocket awareness looked so much better. It looked great. I mean, and I've been seeing that recently with quarterbacks coming into the league where it can change kind of drastically for whatever reason. Like, you'll see a quarterback in college be great at that and then come in the league and really lose that. And it depends. I really think it's when you get pressured. And so anyway, I thought that his ability to sense where the pocket was going was great. Like I said, there was the one play he almost got sacked. He tried to escape out the back and do all that. Some of that stuff he did at Colorado and was nowhere near fast enough to do it, and got caught. But other than that, he really, and that wasn't even him not knowing where the pressure was. That was just the play not working and him trying to make something happen. But everything else, I really felt like he knew exactly where the pressure was coming from, where the pocket was moving, and I thought he moved with the pocket pretty well. His short to intermediate velocity looked much better to me than in college. Now, what I think it is it's over the middle is where he's best. I mean, it's science at that point. Whatever side you fall on it, I think it's safe for people to say Shedeur doesn't have the strongest arm. So for me, that was more of a concern. And not to say that it was completely different than Colorado, but I think watching it with timing and against NFL speed, you could tell that once it's over the middle, or at least where he is, like the velocity is pretty good. Like a lot of people saying it's good enough, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I saw that. Now we saw the breakup, which I mean that's a standard play you see from a rookie. When you threw the ball to the outside on the outbreaking route, the guy broke it up and the ball was a little bit behind. So if you're standing from the middle of the field in the pocket and you're throwing to the outside, that's a longer throw than if you're throwing it over the middle. And so the velocity has to be a lot higher to get that ball there with timing. And so that still felt the same, but I just really like the velocity over the middle. It's similar, not exactly, but kind of like I felt with Penix and Bo Nix, where some people say they got rocket arms. I don't really agree with that, but like I called them 50-yard quarterbacks. Like when you're playing with a field that's only 50 yards, that's when their arm strength is as good as you need it to be. It's just the difference of playing, extra 50 yards. So I thought, again, within that 30 to 40 yard space, especially over the middle, I thought the velocity looked really good. And then obviously we saw the ability to layer some of the passes, and sometimes it didn't hit, but we saw some of those nice plays where whether it was, I think, the second touchdown where you're able to put the ball low and away, take some speed off of it, make it catchable, where you're able to lob the ball in between the defense for that one-handed catch and not just throwing a bullet at them. Just understanding when to change the speed of the pass so that you can make a catchable ball depending on the situation. And then in terms of the mobility, now I still don't, I wouldn't call him like a super athletic quarterback, but I thought he looked, number one, he looked really strong in terms of just in the pocket. Like, you got, obviously these are NFL guys, but you had some NFL vets, some strong vets like Ashawn Robinson tugging at the jersey and stuff like that. Didn't fall down easy at all. Kept his balance, was able to evade that stuff. And that was very impressive. Obviously, even after that, continuing to make the play. But I just thought from just a strength standpoint, that looked good against NFL competition. And then the mobility was a little bit more sneaky, athletic than I thought it would be. I didn't think he had zero mobility, but I thought it looked good. I mean, I think getting out of the pocket and transitioning, his hips look good. So stepping in the pocket with your hips pointed, turning your hips to move, and then either run or square back up and make a throw. I thought he looked fluid. He looked really fluid. And, that's the key to being able to do some of those things off platform or whatever. But it looked good. It looked good. And I think those are the main things that stood out to me. But I really want to emphasize how big it is that he looked so, I don't even want to say comfortable, because I feel like it's gonna start a fight, but he just looked very polished in terms of just the quarterback mechanics of the offense. And this is an offense, especially what they was running, that is just not at all close to what most colleges are running. So it was impressive to see him make that transition in that amount of time. So there's that. All right. So some of the negatives for those that, or not even negatives, but I don't know what you want to call it. So for me, these are more confirmations, and I guess it could be negative, but it was the same thing that was in the evaluation. And I recently did sorry, I'm blanking on what I want to say. Because I didn't record the video, but I watched the video of the pass rushers and did the grades or whatever. And in that video, I talked about how you got certain quarterbacks that just like to stand at the top of the pocket. And while, that might work for them, it creates an easier target for defensive linemen, and it can cause sacks. Josh Allen's somebody that I think of that does this. Now, we know Josh Allen's arm strength is different or better than everybody else in the league. So that gets him out of trouble sometimes, but still it causes some issues. And so anyway, that stood out to me. That's something that I saw in college. While I think Shedeur, like his whole pocket game looked much better than I saw in college. And we're not talking about the offensive line creating a pocket. I don't want to hear that. I'm talking about what he does and how he reacts to the pocket. I thought all of it looked a lot cleaner than Colorado. However, the last play, the last throw, he took a step up and he made a hitch up and delivered a throw. That looked great. That's how you want it to look. Prior to that, he really hesitated and kind of refused to take a step up. Even in the play in the end zone where he makes a big completion, but he's about to get hit while standing in his own end zone, he never steps up and, gets out of that pocket. He plants his feet and waits to make a throw. And most of those throws, I think he completed, not everyone, but most of those he completed. But in a real game, especially if it's a blitz or, you're playing against top pass rushers, whatever, that's going to be a sack. That's going to either be a sack or you're going to get hit while throwing. It's going to be an interception. And so, and again, all this provided, this is the first preseason game. But still, that's something in his game that I saw in Colorado that's still kind of there. And it happens with a number of quarterbacks. So I'm not trying to make this a Shedeur Sanders exclusive. That's just some quarterbacks like to get to their spot. But you saw him move the pocket, or not move the pocket, but move in the pocket to his left or his right, and then replant his feet. And that's just where he's comfortable at. And so I think in certain situations, you got to get used to stepping up in the pocket. His arm is not strong enough. He will not be able to just stand at the back of the pocket, make a throw while getting hit, and continuously get completions. Like I said, that bites Josh Allen sometimes. So I can't imagine Shedeur making a living off that, which I don't think they'll ask him to. So that stood out to me. Like I talked about, the arm velocity to the outside, some of those tighter window throws. I mean, with any quarterback, any rookie quarterback, the NFL windows are shorter. That's just what it is. So got to be able to be better on timing, be better about not that he was bad, but I'm just saying in general, rookie quarterbacks have to get used to be better on timing. They have to get used to not trying to force the ball into certain windows that aren't there. Yeah, and then I mean certain missed throws I wasn't really tripping about. That just happens sometimes. Like, again, we're zooming in on one game, not even a full game. If you look at a quarterback's season, there's going to be missed throws like that. So I wasn't tripping on that. I will say that what happens a lot of times, what can happen in these systems, you do get a lot of anticipated throws that and it's going to happen. I don't even know if it's negative, but you'll see some times where I'm throwing to a spot because the receiver's supposed to be there, and it's usually a miscommunication. So either the receiver was in the wrong spot, or the quarterback made the wrong read, or y'all didn't read it the same if it was an option route, whatever. So you saw a couple of those, and I think that's just going to happen, especially, building chemistry. So that's not something that I think is really a big issue, but I know that's something that people are going to bring up. But yeah, honestly, I mean, that was it. I think if you watch this game and you compare it to kind of how he looked in Colorado, I think he understands really what is being asked of the quarterback within this scheme. And I think the scheme really reins him in instead of putting it all on him. And I don't know what they did in Colorado, but I know, like, with the kind of spread college offenses, especially with a team Colorado where you just leaning on Shedeur and Travis, instead of just kind of, hey, make something happen. This is a very structured system. And especially, I mean, we don't know what it's going to look like because they don't got Nick Chubb no more. And Judkins is, TBD. But in there, in the way, or at the operating at the level that they want to, the Cleveland Browns would like to have a very strong run game and then plan everything off of that. And then that type of offense, I think Shedeur could truly shine. Now, watching him, and again, it's one game, but you could see, at least to me, over the years, I've seen a lot. You could see kind of where defensive coordinators are going to try to force him and what situations they're going to try to force him into if he were the starter. And so as more film comes out, you'll see. But it did. I mean, you had some people say this. We saw a lot of comparisons. But to me, I think the one that made the most sense and it felt even more true watching it, it felt like Geno. Felt like Geno Smith. So, that to me is an accurate description and breakdown of what we saw. There are some things physically and just kind of mechanically that he still, we saw in Colorado that proved to be true in the NFL. And, some things are just limits. Some things he just got to just develop at. And that's what this first 3 years are for. And then there's some things that we saw that look a lot cleaner than it did at Colorado. And I think besides the whole fake social media war, or I won't say fake, but social media people behind a keyboard. So whatever they say, whatever, they doing the most extreme. But I think the real conversation and the real hype about it is because we are hearing so many different things from camp that people, I think, had a very low expectation. Because again, I mean, then we had the whole, they're throwing them to the wolves, like they setting them up for failure. So I know, as somebody that follows the stuff decently, I don't know what to believe. I just feel like most people don't know what to believe, especially national media. They not down there. So we didn't know what to believe. And so I think if you looked at this as Shedeur is really not getting a lot of practice time, and then he came out looking that clean, then you like, oh my God. But, if you're somebody that didn't have that feeling and expectation going into it, you might have been like, okay, that was a good to solid game. And of course, if you are just one of those haters that's in the social media war, you're going to be like, it was preseason and didn't mean anything. So the truth, as often, is somewhere in the middle. And I don't know what he's gotten in practice, but it really doesn't matter to me because, again, I'm a Bears fan. I watch Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams got everything that could be asked for. That doesn't guarantee that it's going to translate. So whatever Shedeur got, he made the most of it with this game plan and what they asked him to do. And I'll be curious to see him have more volume. And honestly, to see more under stress. I will say that this game there wasn't a ton of pressure, and even when there was, it wasn't quick pressure. And look, people say what they want, they still got a pretty good offensive line, or at least the interior. We'll kind of see who's healthy and everything, but either way, seeing him against like some real pressure where things are a little bit off time and seeing how he reacts will be interesting. But yeah, I think the true evaluation of this from an outside perspective without, knowing everything and what it was supposed to look like, I gotta tell you, man, that's a solid A performance. So all right, that is it for me. Go down in the comment section, let me know what you think, share it around, get the convo started, thumbs up, subscribe, and thank you for listening.